Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's 4 p.m. We have work session 10/21/13, 4 p.m. Purpose is to discuss public works and other budget items. Since our last council meeting, there has been many words tossed around. Words such as rumors, assumptions, procedures, beliefs, non-beliefs, understanding, and misunderstanding. I hope by the end of this work session that we will have dismissed all of the above and have true facts before us to move forward professionally and positively, as I believe we all are striving to do for the good of the city of Prattville. Tremendous strides have been made in establishing trust during the first year of our tenure together. I urge everyone to discuss, debate this matter and all matters that come before us honestly, with courtesy and integrity, and pray that God will direct our decisions, then move forward. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to start by asking Lisa to tell us exactly what is in place concerning the personnel at issue. Lisa. Once Lisa has spoken, then I will ask the mayor to speak to the issue. Then any council member, in no particular order, can speak. Please be recognized. Thank you. Lisa.
Okay. I wasn't at the meeting Tuesday night, but after speaking with Mr. Wood, I put just some points for you guys to have in front of you to understand, hopefully to clear up some misunderstandings. And I'll just start with, first of all, the position of the Secretary 3 in Urban Management. That position, as included in the 2012-13 approved budget, has been vacant since March 29th, 2013 due to a resignation. The Urban Management seasonal employee filled that position from April 29th, 2013 through September 27th, 2013, and that was authorized to fill that position by the council on February 5th of 2013. The Secretary 3 position was then reclassified from a 2 to a 3 in Urban Management on August 20th through council approval. The Human Resources Department received authorization to implement the hiring process for that position as budgeted on August 20th as well. And the Secretary 3 position in Urban Management was posted from August 26, 2013 through September 3rd, 2013. 220 applications were received via the city web-based application process, and the position was filled as budgeted. It was budgeted from October 1st forward for the entire fiscal year. 17 candidates were interviewed on September 17th, and the position was filled on October 2nd with the top candidate in the process. This is a merit position, and as I stated, was reclassified from a Secretary 2 to a Secretary 3 to compensate the employee for additional responsibilities. The Secretary 3 would be providing administrative support for multiple departments, including urban management, sanitation, vehicle maintenance, facilities maintenance, and wastewater. The goal was to streamline the administrative tasks to allow department managers more time for operations. Vehicle maintenance had previously housed a Secretary 2 position in their department. When the reorganization occurred approximately 3 years ago, that position was transferred to Urban Management. This employee could technically be housed at any of these departments. The Vehicle Maintenance Department provided a central location that most of these departments and those folks that worked in them passed through daily. Moving on to the Public and Environmental Works Director position, funds for that position are included in the 2013-14 approved budget effective January 1. Any funds that are in that budget were prorated to begin in January. So the whole $74,000 amount that is in your proposal that was given out by the mayor, that's why that $74,000 is not in there. It was prorated, and I believe it's around 50-something is what's in the budget. Council would need to address whether we can fill this position simply because it's a new position. So nothing has been done as far as filling that. Council would need to address how we would treat current department heads, establish that division, the Public Works Division, and also amend the Code of Ordinances before any action can be taken on that position. The mayor has assigned a fire department battalion commander to a special assignment with the sanitation, vehicle maintenance, urban management, facilities maintenance, and wastewater departments. The purpose of that assignment was to assist in improving efficiencies in those areas. This employee has not received a pay change, reclassification, or appointment, and his salary continues to be paid as budgeted through the fire department. The Personnel Policies Manual, Section 4.10, Temporary Assignment, states that any employee may, at the discretion of the appointing authority, be placed on temporary assignment in another position for such purposes as training, accomplishing special projects, filling temporary positions, or other similar reasons.
Thank you, Lisa. Mayor?
I think I can probably be heard through this desktop right here. I'll move it right here, if that's okay. I'm open for any questions or concerns or comments about Mrs. Thrash's comments there. If not, I would like to move further into the Public Works talks.
At this time, any council member have any questions or comments for the mayor? Go ahead, please.
The binder that was presented to this body during a council meeting, thank you, is just a accumulation of thoughts and ideas of different directions that the city could go in. It has several different scenarios there. It talks about public works. It talks about environmental works. And as I have talked with everybody here, is that one of the main reasons for this exercise is that in the past, my opinion is that we have some departments that are, and I guess the verbiage that I have used multiple times, they've had a cheerleader or somebody to go out and lobby for them and for equipment, for personnel, for procedures, and we have some departments that are very, very good at that. Actually, just great is the proper terminology, I believe. We have some other ones who just do not have the talent, the expertise like some other ones, and so one of the main roles there is to make certain that these various departments that are sometimes overlooked because they just do not have that, and I hate to say lobbyists because sometimes a lobbyist is looked at in a very negative way, but trying to utilize it in a positive way here, but they don't have the person out there to say that we need this or we need that, and I think that we have made a lot of great strides with several of these departments over the last 2.5 years, and a lot of that is because of the special assignments, because of the cross-training, the cooperation of department heads, employees, but I truly believe that we need to look at forming the environmental works and public works, whichever way it might be. Now, that the binder that I did present to this body had different scenarios in it, so that way it did not look like that I was trying to back anybody into a corner. The way I look at it is that there's several different ways that this could go about for the city of Prattville in a very positive way. You could approve one director over the 5 departments. You could approve 2 directors over the 5 departments. You could also, there's a footnote for pretty much an option 3. And the 4th thing is we just continue doing business the way that we've been doing business. Another comment that I have made to this body is that whereas I trust where I trust this body, we have showed great strides in bringing these departments, as I mentioned earlier, that sometimes have been slightly neglected. They have seen a lot of attention lately, and I think that is a very, very good thing. We have one department that has been losing money, and now after going into the enterprise fund setup, it is actually covering its costs and able to plan for the future, and I see a lot of positive improvements on that. And I think, as I passed out earlier, was a printout from an AL.gov post, and it actually shows where the city of Prattville is, the footnote on it. If you go click on their website, you can go down to various cities, not all. I checked with some sister cities here, and they were not listed there, but City of Prattville was there, and then there are various other cities. But it actually, footnote on it was very positive. So if you have time, please read it. Go to that website. I don't know exactly what their matrix was on this news article, but it did portray us in a very positive manner. But basically, going back to the Public Works, there's several different options here. A lot of it has to be approved by the council. I think that it opens a lot of questions. It answers a lot of questions, and that was one part of this exercise, is for us to have as many people thinking about what direction do we want our city to move in. Personally, I really feel like that with a lot of technology that has changed over the last several years, we have so many options out there, and these are just a few for the council to decide and potentially act on. But with that said, after doing some research, after a while we had a lot of questions about the special assignment. It actually just sort of opened one door, which opened another door, and it basically leads me to believe we need to revisit our ordinance on departments. I found areas that I feel like we need to discuss, not at this meeting, but at a later meeting, that just to make certain that we're basically running this municipality as a state intended it to be run. But there's quite a bit of information in this binder. Don't know if anybody's had time to look it over. If you have any additional questions on that. But basically, in a nutshell, is looking at 5 various departments: sanitation, wastewater, vehicle maintenance, facility maintenance, and urban management. Taking those 5 departments and either putting them under one director or 2. Basically streamlining. I know there was some questions brought up about the secretary, going from Secretary 2 to Secretary 3. That if we were to provide a secretary for those various departments, it would definitely be at a higher cost. So it's basically just trying to streamline and make things more efficient.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone have any comments or questions at this time? No questions, no comments. Are we all then at peace with what has been said through personnel and mayor at this time?
Well, I do have a question. Okay, you've given us 3 models. Which model are you trying to sell to the council?
My personal belief right now at this point in time, and let me step back before I answer that. Another reason why I presented it this way, given options here, is that one, I really foresee our environmental works, our sanitation, our wastewater, of them, I would really like to see them being on the cutting edge. I would like to see them to be recognized at a state or national level. I would really like for it to be able to do something that nobody around has been doing. But to get there, it's going to take time, and most certainly it's going to take money. I do not believe that we're there at this point in time. Our wastewater department is running very well. Our sanitation department is trying to get to that point, but there's still a lot. We all know, all of us sitting here, we had a lot of challenges for one short period of time there, and we were able to work through those challenges. And a lot of that is because of the special assignments, the cross training, and pretty much all the departments pulling together for a common cause and a common goal there. To answer your question directly, at this point in time, I really see that, in my opinion, for the betterment for the city of Prattville, is to go with one director over 5, but with the footnote that in the very, hopefully near future, it might be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it might, where it needs to split off and go to 2. So that way that the sanitation, the environmental works portion can flourish like I envision it to.
And I have one other question. This is the concern I think Ray brought up, that I particularly don't like that you're taking the authority from the council, the various departments. I've looked over this, and I didn't realize I didn't read the footnote where you reclassify different directors to a merit position. Mm-hmm. That's one concern I do have. Are you sold on that idea?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For it to be a merit position?
I'm not, how about if I say I'm not married to it? And I guess the reason why I put it that way, the way our department heads have been set up, they have been an appointed position, and there's pros and cons for that. We have a lot of good people that have been working for the city for 20 plus years that when they moved from their merit position and took over the reins as the department head, they then went to the classification of being appointed, which actually puts them in a little bit of risk. You could have at the next quadrennium, beginning of the next election cycle, you could have a big changeover, and you could have somebody come in and decide we're going to just completely clean slate. So it does put them at a little bit of a risk. Now, with that said, though, the committees, the various committees, the council committees, and I would hope that they would still stay heavily engaged. Now, the committees are not something that have to be utilized, from my understanding. That is something that the council can form or not form. It is not dictated by law that you have to have these committees. But I think over the last year, I know, and really longer for that, for three of us sitting here, I've seen so much value in these committees. Now, because not only in certain cases where the employees, the department heads need something, whether it be personnel, equipment, or funding of some shape, form, or fashion, the procedure is they come to me, and some occasions it might be when the mayor goes to the individual councils or council body as a whole and tries to sell it. Sometimes you have a loss of communication in there, because not in all departments are you going to find all mayor who can be so versed to sell it quite as much as the department heads can. But the merit does give that department head or that superintendent or that person in charge a sense of security that they're not basically have to wait to be reappointed on a year-to-year basis, which is what the vast majority of department heads are done here in the city of Prattville. Again, that portion of it will definitely be in the hands of the council, in which shape, form, or fashion to be done on that. Now, there's at a later date, I think we do need to take into account of some of our procedures along that line and make certain that we're doing exactly everything we should be doing in that area. But as far as trying to take power away from the council, that is definitely no shape, form, or fashion my belief, my goal on this task. It is strictly to improve the efficiency, the accountability, and the efficiency of these various departments.
Mayor, you and I have had several conversations over the past 6 months or so, plus or minus, about this public works position. And in theory, I agree with moving in this direction. I think I've expressed that to you.
Yeah.
The way I look at it now, and I may be off on this number, but basically you have 12 or 13 people who report to one person, that being you. Based on my experience as a manager, I don't think that 12 or 13 people can be managed effectively by one person. That's not an indictment of you, that's just in general. I don't think I can. I don't think anybody can effectively. So in theory, I think this is a good idea, a good thought that we need to flesh out, and I've told you that. The council has some difference of opinion about 1 versus 2. Part of the discussion is it's too much for one person. Other parts of it, there's just a lot of discussion about that. Personally, I think that if we go from 13 to 8 that report to you and 5 that report to this one, well, how can that be too much? We're taking some of the burden off, moving in the right direction. Now, long term, should it be a couple of, another director, and then even longer term, another director, where there's 5 or so people who report directly to you and 5 or so report, that's way on down the road. But in theory, I think that's a good thought. During the budget process, we had discussions about this, and I'll say it this way. My impression was that this was going to be discussed fully and debated between the council before anything was acted on. Now, I'm not questioning your authority to do a temporary assignment. I know you can do that. You have the authority to do that. You have the power to do that. I understand that. But what this has done is put us into a situation that when someone says on the council, this is too much for one person to handle, which again, I don't agree with that, but if they say that, then all of a sudden, the person who's in this acting position, you, others, take that as a personal issue that this person can't handle it. My hope was that we would debate, discuss, and argue about a position and have nothing to do with personalities or persons or whether that particular individual could handle it or not. That's where I thought we were going, and that's what I had hoped for. Since a temporary assignment was made, I feel that anything that I or other counselors say gets bogged down and mired up with person instead of position. That's my issue. Whether you can do the temporary assignment or not is no question. I know you can. Now, whether that was my bad impression that I thought we were going to move and do all that, if it was, it's my bad. I will say that if I had thought that there was a chance for a temporary assignment before we fully debated it, I would have never voted for the budget because it has that public works person and department already in there. So I would have not voted for the budget. I would have fought to have taken that out of the budget if I thought a temporary assignment, because it just muddies the water. It really muddies the water, in my opinion. And I don't even have any fault or any problem with any of the other temporary assignments that you've done. We've talked about all those, and we've communicated well about all those things. There was a specific purpose. You communicated that to us. I was fine with that, and I think a lot of good came from that, and I think a lot of good can come from these special assignments. So I want to be very careful not to get all of that bogged down, because I think you have done a good job on all that, and I appreciate that. It's what we're lacking in government a lot of times is some ingenuity in doing things different and not the way we've always done it. So I'm good with that. It just really bothered me that I felt like we were going to have full discussion, debate, and direction before we started talking about a person. and the temporary assignment took that opportunity away from the council. That's the issue that I have. And hopefully we can work through all that and talk about the position and try to separate the person and the personalities and that sort of thing. Anyway, that wasn't a question, I don't guess, Counselor. I do have one question, or maybe two. I think Lisa stated that this secretary could be housed at any location. Where was the secretary housed? Where did she sit?
Well,
Or does she sit, I guess?
Originally, it was down in vehicle maintenance, and then it got
No,
moved up to
I mean
urban management,
the special assignment,
vehicle maintenance.
vehicle maintenance.
Yes.
Okay. So there again is my impression. We voted for a secretary in urban management. It's being paid for out of the urban management budget. So hopefully you can see by that could be taken that we're hiring one in urban management and putting it in vehicle maintenance or in public works is what we're talking about. That's the kind of, if you had come to us and talked to us about it and all that, and we had expressed these concerns ahead of time, maybe you would have moved forward and we would have known about it instead of hearing it off the street. Or maybe we'd have said, okay, I'm not sure which, but I think if we'd have had that communication beforehand, it would have just been a lot better.
Well, I agree. I think there's, a lot of this has been a communication challenges or issues. Whenever the secretary did get moved or hired, went from a secretary 2 to a secretary 3, and with the knowledge that she was going to be performing more tasks. Basically, that's what she's doing now, performing those additional tasks. And in a nutshell, just it does go down to comes around to a lack of communication there. And to go back and address your earlier comment there, my role as the mayor, I have very little that I can do with as far as these department heads, how they're set up and all that. Some of that's going to come down to the direction that the council wants to go in, and there again, some of this is something that I think that we need to talk about at a different meeting. But I do respect you, but it's hard for me to comprehend or understand where you think by me having these special assignments, it's really calling your hand, so to speak, on this project or potential project, because the binder that has been presented gives various options, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, fourth one being doing nothing. So where you and I have been on the same page on a lot of occasions. Just regrettably, we're not on the same page in that particular instance.
Which is a small part of this big picture.
Very small. I've said this to somebody before. It's this is really all that we might be having to have a slight little debate over. I think I hope that shows everybody how well things are going. A lot better now compared to a lot of other communities and everything else. So it's because to me this is not a true game changer or a deal breaker or whatever terminology you want to call it. And that is one reason why. Because I've had several people ask me, well, why did you not just show them one project, one pathway to travel? I thought, well, I don't want them to think that I'm over here trying to be some kind of dictator. All I want everybody to know that these are options. I'm open, because I don't have all the questions. I don't have all the answers. But sometimes when you have projects like this or tasks like this, it spurs your thought process, and you can come up with a better idea, better way to build the mousetrap. And I'm hoping that's what we'll end up doing.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Mike?
My question may involve Lisa, but it involves more once we get on the same page with one person or two people, or however we proceed with this, who makes the determination on the search process if it remains, you know, if it's open to everybody, if we're searching outside of current employees, who determines that?
My understanding is left up to the council.
So
But
we have input on the whole process as it goes forward.
That is my understanding, which of course, you know, again, that sort of goes back to some other discussions. It brings up other questions and for us to look at it at a later date. But I think that we have worked very good and closely together. I know prior to some sitting up here on the council, we had, whenever the city was looking for a certain position, and I'm not going to go into exactly which position or person that was, but our previous council president and myself sat on the search committee for that person, for that position. I sat on one that was strictly a council appointment. So I think there's been a lot of cooperation over the last 2.5, 3 years on events like that, for positions like that.
Any other council member have any other discussions or comments before it gets to me? Because my comments will be final comments.
Mayor, I'd like to start by saying my reasoning for asking questions, and mainly that is because when I vote for the budget, when we amend the budget, when we keep the budget, I'm responsible for the numbers in the city, the numbers of employees that we have. And when I was seeking election, that was something that you heard a lot about. The public cares very much about keeping their city employees employed. They care very much about how much money you spend when you add someone new. They care very much about how much you save by combining. So I take this very seriously when I'm just looking at numbers and salaries and benefits and how we can save the city money and how I can justify, because people do call me and they ask, why was this person hired? How much money did y'all spend? What is their position? Where are they located? You know, you get detailed questions mainly from people who have worked in the city before or who have someone connected to the city. And as my responsibility, I see very important that I be able to justify if I ask for a hire, even to the council. If I come to them and say the department that I'm chair over needs a hire, I've talked to the department heads, they need this hire, this is why. Because anything that I do that I feel like might be perceived as even a little bit shady, I don't want that to happen. So I need to be able to justify anytime we are hiring any type of new employee. So that's where my questions are stemming from. It's not personal. In fact, I think that the person that I believe you have on special assignment right now has proven himself, in my opinion. I've sat on committees where he has proven in other special assignments to do a wonderful job. So this has nothing to do with a person, more about money that we're spending on our hires, because if you look at that binder right there, the options have different amounts of money. They're not all equal. Whichever one we choose, if we choose to stay the same, if we choose to adopt option 1, option 2, they're going to cost the city a different amount of money, each one. And that's important, that we not just go for, oh, this is the cheapest, we have to do it, or this is the most stable, we have to do it, or this is the most expensive, we can't afford to do it. We might have to look at what we can't afford not to do. But I want specific answers about those things before I make a decision on if I want option 1, 2, 3, or 4 to represent the people who I represent. So that's where my questions are coming from, and I just wanted that to be obvious so that it wasn't like I was putting you on the spot. That's the reasoning behind. But my first question is, I would like to know what the person who is on special assignment for these 5 departments is doing right now. What's the basis? If he's got 30 days to go in there and fix something, what's his assignment?
Well, right now he's out of country.
Okay.
He's on vacation.
Okay. While he's there, what is his assignment?
Pretty much what he's doing right now, when he does get back inside the country, is streamlining, and also attempting to work out the logistics for various departments. Organizational skills is whomever, if there is a change in, for public works, environmental works, whatever it might happen to be, that position is going to have a lot of talent as far as standard operating procedures, logistics, but basically, to answer your question directly, to streamline, look at any and all safety concerns for various departments, logistics inside each and every department, and basically just a coordination of various areas that need to be. It's also a discovery process too, to see exactly what may or may not need to be looked at or addressed in various departments.
Okay. Would you have this person on special assignment if we were not headed towards Public Works? Would they be on this particular assignment? Would you have put them down there anyway? Or is this specific to getting ready for Public Works?
I believe that I would still have them down there because the departments, as I mentioned earlier, in my opinion, had not been getting quite as much attention as other departments. Their equipment, their staffing, there was a lot of needs as far as standard operating procedures, safety protocols, equipment, and sometimes it's just the fact that you need somebody with a little detailed outlook on things, and then sometimes it never hurts to have a second or third party to come in and just look and see exactly how things are being operated. Prior to the election, we had a firm to come in and look over one department. I forgot exactly what the cost was on it. In the scheme of things, it was not that much, but it was $10,000, I think. That we $5,000, $15,000 that we spent to have an outside firm to come in. They actually, during that process, they brought up some very good points, but in the end result of that was for us to streamline them. Correct me if I'm wrong. We needed to spend $6 million for that department, pretty much immediately, for it to be streamlined, and I'm talking about wastewater. We all have our difference of opinions. This company, even though they were a professional as part of their day-to-day activities, that is something that I just did not agree with. In certain areas, you can, and I'm going to give you a few examples here. I think it's the Tacoma Bridge in Washington. It's also the Chevrolet Corvette. It's also a Ford F-250 with a 6-liter engine. All three of those had experts that looked them over to try to make certain on paper that they worked, that was the best and the right route to go. Well, sometimes though, when you start trying to apply those to real life, to day-to-day activities, they do not always work. And I think that's where a lot of hands-on application, person-to-person conversations, and exactly seeing how it works is best in some cases. Never hurts to listen to those proverbial experts, but you do have to be able to separate what they're telling you and be able to apply it all. Those are just a few examples I could give you, just come off the top of my head, but some of my first special assignments started, I guess, in my office. And then it went from one department to another department and to another department. And so I think the city has benefited quite royally because of all these special assignments. And I see quite a bit more improvement that needs to be made. And we have a lot of SOPs, standard operating procedures, that need to be brought up to speed. There again, it's not trying to show a negative light on any one person or department or anything else along that line. It's just pretty much every now and then you need somebody new to come in and look at something, see how you can do it a little bit different. And I think it has proven in these cases that it's been very, very profitable for the city of Prattville.
Okay. We, according to our binder, have until January the 1st before legally we could even begin to enact this department. That's where our budget would start January 1st if we were ready to do it by then. Obviously, that is more than 30 days. What does the interim look like for you? If he finishes up his assignment, he comes back from wherever, finishes up his 30-day assignment, then what's going on?
I mean, basically, right now, we're almost going to say day to day. I mean, you know, the special assignments, I have not really put any particular timeline on. It all depends on what kind of results that we see, what kind of needs that we
I
need.
understood that this special assignment had a timeline, that it was a 30-day assignment.
They go on pretty much 30 days.
So then you renew it at the end of that if you choose.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, as far as, you know, anything happening January 1, that's up to the council's.
I understand that. Okay. Is it your idea that current department heads will take less responsibility if we enact this and we have one or we have two public works directors? What is that going to do to our current department heads? Are they going to continue to do a budget for their department? Are they going to continue to take the same responsibilities that they have now? What is your vision of what happens with them?
I think it will allow them to have a lot more hands-on to actually help with the boots on the ground, because most of these departments that we're talking about have quite a few employees in there. Pretty much, in my opinion, all these departments need to be grown. They need to
Grown in staff or grown in theory?
all the way around.
Okay.
But there again, I've said this before, we don't need to do anything more than we can afford. Eventually, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to see sanitation and wastewater to grow to a point to be state and nationally recognized. Now, just by saying grown does not mean necessarily grown by the number of employees. It could be that we grow a program, a recycling program of some type of magnitude that would actually help cut costs down. It would grow the operations of both sanitation and potentially wastewater, but it could actually cut. It could cut on how we actually operate. Could possibly potentially cut on equipment. Could potentially cut on the number of employees. So I mean, it's the binder that I presented here. There again are just some thoughts and ideas, the direction that I think that I see us needing to move in. But as far as you know, day-to-day operations, exactly how they're going to change when you're starting to try to almost re-innovate, you know, the wheel, you don't know. That's one reason why, as I mentioned in those three examples I gave earlier, that's one reason why you need somebody with a very good working knowledge to one aspect, but also a practice being able to apply those working things, you know, on a day-to-day basis. But to better answer your questions, what do I see as the current department heads? That they'll have less clerical obligations.
Including doing their budgets for their department? Is that something you would want assigned to a new public works director? And I'll go ahead and give you the reasoning behind my asking. I mean,
Okay.
I'm thinking that is something we need to know, because if we're going to pay them the same amount and they're going to have the same responsibilities. If they have less responsibilities, then we need to relook at numbers throughout. And I don't want to do that to our city employees. I think they have a certain expectation if they're going to maintain their department head or supervisor, as we may call them now, position, then they need to know what they're looking at going into this. And we as a council, before we make votes, need to know. It's not something that I think we can say we don't know, we'll figure that out later. I think we need to know when we make a vote on which direction out of 1 out of 4 we go. I'd really like to be concrete for our employees' sake about where the money, are you getting the same pay for the same responsibilities? Are you getting less pay, less responsibilities? Same pay for, we need to flesh that. That's just one thing. Obviously, we can't work that out today. I just wanted to know your vision for that, which kind of leads into my, what is your vision for the day-to-day job for this 1 or 2 department heads? What would they be doing?
Some of these departments, facility maintenance, for example, does not have a department head.
Okay.
It was moved, I guess you could again say, on special assignment up underneath the fire department.
Yes.
It was never intended to stay there long term. It needed some structure, some organization, and the fire department did quite a bit for the city of Prattville in that arena. They have shown a lot of improvements in that area. That department needs somebody. We also, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, during our RIF program, we had lost a person that was in there and who was sort of a management position. So, some of this stuff has been done, has been out of necessity because of the lower number of employees that we've had. Some of it has been because we're just trying to be innovative and break out of the mold of, this is the way we've always done it. And believe me, there was a culture change, culture shock for some people on that. So, not all of these 5 have a department head. Some of them have had long-term department heads, some of them have not. So some of the challenges that you speak of, I think can be handled more than likely, and I reserve the right to be corrected, through attrition. So, but the salaries, we do have a pay plan that we're based off of, and so there'll be some adjustments there. So, I really don't have all the answers for you there but the urban management also had not had a department head in its role for the last 2 years, I believe. For about 2 years.
Right.
So it's, and I think a lot of that gratitude to all the employees and department heads that are here with the city. That is one reason why, not in 13 but in 12, we were able to come in. Was it $9 million under budget? Exactly how we're going to come in under budget. Looking for Doug Mosley. We should be coming in under budget for 2013. So it's I'm very proud of what the employees, the department heads have been able to accomplish. But there again, I don't have all your answers for that.
Well, that's okay. I would like to say publicly that I am in favor of moving in this direction. But sometimes they're hard questions that all of us have to get to before we're ready to move ahead. And that's why I'm asking the hard questions now instead of when the questions come to me for me not to have the answers. So,
well, I really hope that this isn't the first and last meeting that we have on this.
Agreed.
To me,
Agreed.
this is a very important move. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and so I'm really hoping that it's going to be one of many meetings that we have, and that way we can look all these departments over. This binder, again, is recommendations, and really, hopefully, is opening up the thought processes for everybody to really start thinking about what direction, how can we streamline things. As mentioned earlier, there's been matrices out there that, the optimal number is 5. One person can handle 5 different departments, and I've heard other ones that's saying it's 7 different departments. But I do want to say this, is that sometimes I don't think you can just say this department or that department, they're all managed the same way. I guess 2 really good examples I will give you. One is going to be HR. The other one's going to be finance. I guess the third one's going to be judicial. Those 3 departments, they were really self-contained inside, and they're not the same. They are not having to be managed the same way as your police, your fire, your sanitation, your wastewater, your vehicle maintenance. So if somebody starts counting people, departments, whatever it is, I think you got to look at exactly what are their tasks, what are their duties. and then really determine if you can manage 5 or 7 or 10. But I truly believe that moving in the direction of public works, environmental works, is the best for the city. One is that we were talking about a Secretary 3 position earlier. If we were just to go out and fill a secretary position for pretty much everybody that needs a position and secretary positions, I think Lisa Thrash and I figured that we'd probably need to go out and hire at least 8 more people almost immediately. So this is about being very conscious and very conscious effort of keeping our costs down and streamlining things in government that is not always been done.
That exhausts my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other Council Bo?
Okay, I think this is on. Hello, y'all hear me?
Hey, real quick, I've got to get out of here because I got to close the store tonight. But I just wanted to point out that we voted last week to hire a IT person. And I think the public might have got a good glimpse of what we go through as a council when we go to fill a position. We take it extremely serious. That committee has met over a year on that one position. We literally talked about this thing for a year, did we not, Doug? Before we brought it to council. So, like you said, with that binder that we were given, that is, to me, 4 years of really hard work that this city has gone through over decision and decision and decision that we make, and we don't make them willy-nilly. We never have, and I don't believe we will. In saying that, my only concern with January 1st making this decision is we're right in the middle of the holiday season. This decision needs to have a lot of thought put into it before we pull the trigger. I've been leaning more towards it than against it, still leaning more towards it than against it, but I wouldn't mind seeing it not go until March. So we have a week, and it's no hurry to make it pull the trigger January 1st. So I would ask the council, let's just slow down, let's have our meetings, let's do like we've done with every position we've hired since we've been on this board together. And Mary, you know how hard it was when you first took over. And I believe you've done a superb job leading the city. I've said it time and time again, you're the only man for the position. And it's because of the way you do lead, and it's the time and the thought and the process that we go through. So I'm going to ask council, let's slow down, let's have a lot more meetings on this. It's a very, very expensive project. And we really need to really dig our heels in and look at what we're doing before we pull it, because every action has a reaction. And I'm just worried a little bit about the reaction. What's going to be the reaction down the road? We won't know for 2 years. I just don't want something to bite me in the hind end like I did when I was first on this council. But I really appreciate your time and your effort in putting this together. I appreciate Teresa. I know she's worked real hard on it. Everybody's put a lot of time and effort in this thing, so let's just keep moving forward and having meetings and try to have another one in a couple of weeks.
I'm on board for having additional meetings. As far as the timeline, there again, it's left up to this council on that. I will say though that these special assignments have been very beneficial, not only monetarily but also for us to review on how we have been doing certain procedures around the city of Prattville. I know there's been a big savings in just with vehicles as far as insurance and tags. There were one of our little exercises, we actually found out that we had insurance on vehicles that we no longer had and we were in possession of. So it's just a lot of times exercises like that actually pay dividends for down the road. But I would like I say, I'm at the council's beck and call on this one. It's there's some changes here that only council can make, but as far as the special assignments, I do see, if the need is there, to have additional special assignments. So we'll just, but as we do go into committee meetings and so forth, I'll be glad to discuss that further with the committees. But I have really enjoyed the additional committee meetings than what we've had over the last year. I'm certain can contest to that you would probably have had a quadruple number of committee meetings over the last year than you did over the first 4 years. So I think that it just shows that the city is ready to move in a forward movement.
Thank you. I'm gonna slide out. Like I said, I gotta go close this door. I apologize.
By the time you slide out, unless someone else wishes to speak, you'll hear these remarks because they won't be long. Would anyone else like to speak? Let me thank all you all for coming, department heads. Again, thank all of you all for what you do, Mayor, you also, and the City Council. If you go back and review your budget, you got many requested vacant positions in there. So there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. So at the end of the day, it comes down to this, and this is what I would encourage the committees that will be affected by the proposal from the mayor to meet as soon as possible and get your committee final thoughts and input. Then I would suggest that each committee chair meet with the mayor and discuss the outcome. Every council member is associated with these committees, every one of us. I believe we as a council should make our decision known to the mayor and take action that will leave no room for any further rumors or doubts or misunderstanding on this issue. Finally, whatever direction of decision is made, I again encourage this council and mayor to keep salary, wages at the percentage level that it is in while serving our citizens. We can make this happen. We've done this. We'll go back to work. With that being said, everyone have a blessed afternoon and drive safe. Thank you.